motion to open it? Second. All right, meeting's all open. We're gonna look at 3 today, it looks like, feed the animals, surplus city equipment, sewer rents, and encroachment sign. And being that Bob's here, I'd like you to come up and, you want to talk a little about this, the sign? Please, come up.
Good evening. I will just hand out some, I don't know if everybody has, that reflects what this sign looks like, the dimensions, where it's going to be positioned for purposes of,
Thank you.
for purposes of the building.
Thank you. It's awesome. I approve.
Dave's gotta go. I can't look at Dave.
Oh, he brought it into my office.
So,
It will be busted.
My
we're in the
eyes have
midst of
problems.
repurposing 700 Broad Street, a 90,000 square foot historic.
Sit at the table, the microphone will
Oh,
pick up better.
sit at the table.
Yes.
Have a seat at the table.
Join us.
You happen to. Sorry about that.
You're not part of the mayor's staff.
That was.
Until he kicks me out in about 30 seconds. So we've had the pleasure of repurposing a 90,000 square foot historic warehouse on the corner of Mohawk and Broad Street. We're converting that to warehouse into 74 affordable loft-style apartments. 50 of those units are for any demographic that's served for the affordable population. 24 of those units are reserved for youth in transition. The project is approximately $60 million. We will substantially complete construction by 12/31/2024, and occupancy will start in January of 2025. We were talking about what kind of signage that would look appropriate for the building. It was proposed to us that we go with some modern-looking signage that had no historical significance from our perspective. So Callie thought that maybe it would be appropriate to create a large neon sign to show some historical significance for the building. And we proposed that. And in order to put that pole up immediately adjacent to the northwest corner of the building, we needed to secure a variance. We secured that variance from the planning board. Zoning board, that's right, the variance from the zoning board, but it also requires confirmation from the common council. The sign is approximately 22 feet in length, 6 feet wide, 13 feet off the ground at the bottom of the sign. The packet that you have in front of you shows the dimensions. It shows a picture of what a rendering of what it will look like. It's being built locally by Joel Grimaldi's group on Conklin. And we would like to have it erected at the time the building is completed, so by the end of the year. It requires, in addition to a variance with regards to square footage, it also is 6 inches or approximately 6 inches over for purposes of its location. So I think that reflects what we're seeking from the signage.
I'll go around. Mary, you have a question or anything? What do you think of it?
I actually think it's really cool.
All right.
So, you know.
Kate?
No, I'm all set. Thanks for coming and explaining all this.
All right.
No question, thank you.
Joe?
No, thanks for coming in.
This is gonna be completed by this year?
Correct.
Dennis, anything?
No, I'm good.
Joe?
Yeah, 2 questions. So just curious, was there ever a thought of putting something like on the roof that, not a pole sign, but a big standing sign that you can see? And then my second question is, what do you do on the other side of the building coming down Broad Street? There's no sign at all, it's just the one sign on the corner?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's going to stick out a little bit, so it will have the ability to, for traffic to see it both on Mohawk and Broad Street. We talked about a roof sign, but it's you know, it's three and 4 story building. Very difficult for people to truly identify and look up 3 stories for identification signs, so we kind of discounted that.
Okay. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a couple. When was this, building built? What year?
It's built in the 1890s.
And I'm looking at the sign now, is that like got the 40s there? Is that what you're looking at?
I would think that's, the neon is 30s, 40s.
Okay, and that's when basically the place was really cooking as a warehouse.
As a warehouse, it was a knitting facility prior thereto when it was built in the 1890s. Avalon knitting mill.
Okay, I got it, thank you. Okay.
Thanks for coming, Bob. First of all, we didn't get this component of the rendering from the actual architect and the original design. That was kind of some of the questions that came about, is where the sign would be placed in comparison to say somebody was in a vehicle or a tractor trailer turning that corner, would they be able to see around that corner? Because it was kind of hard to tell in a picture like this. It just looked like it was a line next to the fire hydrant.
Gotcha.
The other thing is, I mean, I'm not a big, I think that the sign is cool. I think it looks like more of like a restaurant style type sign for a corner with neon lights. I mean, I don't know if that was really, would have been my choice for a sign.
If you saw some of the modern ones, I don't think those were fitting.
Yeah, I mean, then that was really the question that I have. Was it ever looked at to be, from an obstructional point of view, anything that possibly could obstruct a view when turning that corner from that height?
You know, we certainly looked at that. That was a question that was posed when we designed it as to whether or not it would obstruct. I think that's one of the reasons why we went 13 feet up, so that people in cars or vehicles would have absolutely no obstruction as it relates to that sign, rather than moving it down. So some consideration was given for purposes.
And it doesn't block, because in like I said, in the pictures that we received, it did look like it was actually next to the fire hydrant. There's no relation to that.
I gave him the ground floor plan as well as a picture of what the sign was gonna look like.
You know, I from a personal perspective, I didn't give any consideration to the fire hydrant. So really first time that someone's actually raised that.
I mean, it was just a
from my
curious question in the picture that I looked. I didn't know. I mean, I didn't know if that was something that zoning looked into. In regards to that, is there any?
I didn't attend the zoning meeting, but again, I don't think there's any hindrance from the pole to the fire hydrant.
Okay. It's just, it's high enough off the ground where it wouldn't, it's not even,
The sign,
or does the
certain-
sign, is the sign on the ground?
No,
No.
it's
No, so
13
that's what, that was
13
another
feet
thing,
above-
okay, 13
above
feet
the
above
ground.
there, so that it wouldn't, like I said,
That's why we talked
the
about
ground,
sight
the ground
lines.
the ground level looks like it was
Gotcha.
in very in
No,
comparison to
good
that,
question.
so.
No, we talked about that for sight lines.
Other than that, I mean, like I said, I think that it's awesome that Joel's doing the work.
And I think
I just,
the neon, I think, is being done on James Street as well, right?
Yeah, Howie Cohen's doing the neon.
yeah.
So it's all local, which is really good.
I wish we had a better design guideline throughout the city of what we expect and what we don't expect, but
Mark, go ahead.
Hopefully we exceed your expectations on the sign.
when it's up. I might know if I don't know if I'm going to a restaurant or apartment complex.
I got, I'm a history kind of buff. Who was the original proprietor of that building? Who built it?
Good question. Can't answer that.
You know, I'm thinking like Bags Hotel, you know, I mean.
I can tell you this.
Something historical to it.
The most prominent person that was involved in the movement for purposes of ensuring that there wasn't slavery, prohibitionist, a guy by the name of Garrett Smith, was born on that site. And in fact, there was a brass plaque attached to the building to honor Garrett Smith. Somebody stole it at some point in time. we were able to retrieve it. And we're going to have it cleaned, and we're going to re-erect it on the front of the building, the north side of the building, in which it was located. In addition, in the interior of the building, in the community center, we're going to provide a historical perspective on Garrett Smith.
Basically, like the same thing under the tunnel, when you come up to the throughway, not the throughway, but down by Utica Park, they have that mural.
Yeah.
So this is going to be on the inside, and it's going to have several walls that are going to be dedicated to the historical significance of Mr. Smith and what he did for the abolitionist movement.
Okay.
Okay, any questions? All right.
That's right.
Thank
I
you.
got one last thing. The parking. I go by there all the time. You're doing a beautiful job there. Where is gonna be the parking for that, for these apartments?
Parking is going to be immediately adjacent to the building on the easterly side, so there's two elevations for parking. There's where the construction office is located, that's going to be parking. And then there's a second tier, a slight rise, you go up towards the Catherine Street side, immediately across the street from Dino's Sausage. There'll be parking up there as well.
Okay, so it's not all right on site?
It is all on site.
It's all right there?
All on site. So we'll have two entrances. We'll have an entrance off Broad and an entrance off of Catherine Street.
Okay, thanks.
And we'd love to take people through. We've taken people from SHPO, State Historical Preservation Board, from Empire State Development, from HCR. Despite the fact that it's probably 75% complete, they're all going to bring it up for awards for purpose of its design. People that have walked through have said to us that it's the best loft apartment complex in the city of Utica, whether you're talking about an affordable and/or market rate. That it looks, it's a superior design, and we're proud of it. And I hope that when you have a chance to walk through, be happy to show it to you. You'll share those sentiments, because it is going to be a wonderful project. Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Bob, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
All right, Mayor, we're not gonna forget about you. I see you hanging.
Oh, I'm not worried about it. I was here for this one too.
We're gonna get you on this, the sewer rents. Would you like
Yeah.
to, talk about this?
All right, so I'm gonna start from the beginning. The water board, in conjunction with our city engineer, by contract, Ramble, and Debbie Day, came up with, the expenditures that would be, both pay for bonding and also our, different facilities costs and renovations and repairs and everything. So you'll see in the budget we passed, this is a while ago now, but I think it was like 4.1 or 4.2 million. The water board and all the other associated parties stated that the current rents are not gonna bring in those, that amount of money. So the rents will have to be raised, even though the council passed the budget with the numbers in it. So they suggested 4% a year over 4 years, each year. We were gonna do 4% originally. We missed a billing cycle because we didn't actually have the ordinance as part of the budget. We didn't actually pass any ordinance. So we took a water bill that someone had paid, and like the local sewer rent, I think was something like $16.72. Just for my own interest to see how much this would affect people, and I added 6% to that. So, per month it came out to be something between, same thing I explained before, between like 40 and 80 cents a month. It was a very minimal amount, even though the sewers department, that actual cost center has to pay for itself. That's why we saw the EFC bonding, for example. to actually start doing more stormwater separation. It's a whole separate cost that are separate than our general revenues and expenditures. So I came to the clerk's office and went to Corporation Counsel. We said, we need the last time this was passed. After a quick scan, they didn't find anything. We had a folder of sewer rent changes and ordinances in Corporation Counsel. The last time it was in that folder was 2014. That was the first one you saw, okay? So we added 6% to that in the ordinance, and you guys passed it. Then we did it again. What's that? What's up?
I'm pointing to Dennis
Oh.
because his wife is trying to track him.
How's it going? You can come in. It's all good. No, you're good? All right. So then
Make sure he's here.
then the water board, you know, the water authority called us and said, you guys are nuts. You must have the wrong information. We're charging rents well above that. But that's all, they just said it over the phone. So we came down and we found in 2016 in the book a change again to the sewer rents. So we sent you another resolution, ordinance, which raised it by 6% based on that. So in other words, we keep trying to raise it 6% based on what's actually being charged right now. So then you guys sent that one up to them and they called me up and said, this is still not right. So I was like, all right, what is going on here? So the clerk and I went upstairs and basically sat with them and just gave them like keywords. I said, search your email for legislation or ordinance, and let's see if we could just find the last time this has changed. So they did find the last time. It was 2017, and they actually pulled out of their filing cabinet the certified ordinance from 2017, and then the clerk and the deputy clerk did another final search. But then on top of that, I had the water board this time go into their rate chart and compare it to the 2017 ordinance to confirm that it actually is the correct thing. And this ordinance that we have here are those numbers, and I don't think we have the memo here. We had the before and after. These numbers were derived by multiplying the current charge levels by 1.06, which is
The 2017?
yes,
Yes.
yes, and that is, but that's what people are currently being charged. So I know at the last council meeting, people were concerned that this is now doubling what we were originally going to do. Actually, it's going to do the opposite. If we needed a 6% increase at the beginning of this budget cycle, and now we've got 2 quarterly billings passed, we're still only raising it 6%. So the reality is this year, this raise will only bring in half of what we originally intended, but we're fine with that because this has been ridiculous. We just want to get the correct 6% increase on the current charges, which all the way back from the original thing, what we talked about, how it would affect the bill, that has never changed because we added 6% to an actual charge on a bill to give the exemplary amount. So this is just finally the correct numbers. And I'm sorry, but I mean, I was at the whim of the books that the council keeps and the folders and that this was all in. We basically had to go on a needle in a haystack hunt, which finally we arrived at a filing cabinet upstairs and found the one we last passed. So,
All right.
yeah,
What I'll do is I'll go around. Katie?
sorry,
I'm all set.
took so long.
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you.
No?
I'm good.
Here you go.
I just briefly wanted to say, I think that the confusion came of the water authority got involved at some point in the previous conversation of them having to explain their position on why this was. And I think that for clarity purposes, it was, I don't know, it was 2 weeks ago in the middle of a discussion. It was mentioned that the water authority was to blame for this, or whose fault was it, so on and so
No.
forth, so.
No,
It's been a combination of everyone trying to sort out and getting different numbers.
Well, the last conversation that we had, it was asking for the water authority to be here, because they were the ones that,
Well, I think there
Said
were
that they
some
couldn't
questions as
explain.
Yeah,
to
but-
whether or not these were
so
the correct numbers,
I
so.
came here because there's absolutely no reason I wanted the water authority trying to explain why we could not go through our own legislative records and find the last time we changed the rates.
Oh,
Nothing
great.
to do with that. They just happen to be the people I finally found it with. Because I went and said, when's the last time we sent it to you? And then I finally found it. You see what I'm
Right.
saying?
That wasn't explained that way
Yeah,
at
yeah.
the last meeting, so. That's it, thank you.
All right, thank you.
So just, what, approximately on a typical household, what's the percentage increase you're gonna see?
6%.
So you're gonna take 6% of what he pays more,
So like if you get your quarterly bill and your local sewer charge was $17, add 6% to that. So 17 times 1.06, because the local sewer rates are very, they're very nominal compared to like the other stuff you have to pay. So like 17 times 1.06, you pay 1802 instead of 17. So it's,
Last round, any more questions? All right, Mayor, thank you. We're good.
Thank
You're
you.
gonna-
Oh, and that dollar increase though, that's for the quarter.
Right.
So you divide that by 3, it's like 33 cents a month.
Are you gonna stay around for the surplus equipment too, or?
The surplus equipment, I actually got the answers that I need to.
I'm gonna hang out for a little while. But I'm
I-
gonna go to business.
I didn't realize that the person that's in the comptroller's office is a retired employee now and working through contracted services under their department. So prior to this information, I always thought that the sale of surplus items was always under the city administration. Technically, it's under the comptroller's office, the one that handles the surplus sales. But
The police, right?
well, it's still besides the fact that previously it all used to be under one roof. The police department never used to sell their surplus items on their own. Right, but I still don't think that that's right.
We're gonna be
And
fixing all of it. basically.
that was kind of the,
Plan on bringing that back into house or?
I mean that's something that I would like to see. I think that, going back to the last time, I think that we had an inventory was Brian McCluskey. Had that, and I just think that, and I know that the purchasing department and things like that are coming together and trying to find ways to get us back on track. And one of the things that I would like to see is that all under one roof. I think that, once somebody's knowledgeable, and not saying that they're not knowledgeable, but selling the items and seeing that and taking the time to actually do that, I think that the city would be in a better position
Katie?
financially.
I'm all set with this, yeah.
Anybody?
No, I got it.
Okay.
So, to pass this out, how's this get sold? Is this, you just put a thing in the paper, is there a date, or is there an auction, or?
Well, it depends if they choose to sell. If there's anything that's not sellable, they'll be disposed of however deemed necessary. But as far as selling it, I mean, it's gonna go through comptrollers, they're gonna do what they need to do, and then it gets approved finally, whatever the end result is, by ENA.
They put a bid in.
Bid on the website.
Right, there's a bid on the website to a certain date until they,
Go up on the web. The reason why, because somebody was interested.
you were interested in one of them?
I mean, somebody else contacted me and asked. me
That
about
would
it.
be, I mean, I can find that out and get to you. I'll ask Dave when they're gonna do it. I guess they're waiting to get the approval tonight, and then he'll put up a date.
Okay.
And we actually used to do it on the city website. It would be a live auction that you could actually go see. We used to put it on our Facebook page. Like, we had a very well drafted procurement policy that was instituted, I think, back in like 2015. And unfortunately, it wasn't followed under the previous administration for whatever reason, whether it was they didn't have a purchasing agent or somebody to follow that. So a lot of the procurement policies that we did have, that shouldn't have no problem being understood and followed now. I'm hoping that we get back to that point, because there was a nice process, not only with the sale of purchases, but with the procurement policy within inside the city. So, and again, having that under one roof and having a point of person that's the contact, having those live auctions and knowing that those are going on is also something that I'm hoping that this administration picks up on.
All right, that's all I got on my list. Any last throw-ins here? All right, motion, go ahead.
So I don't know how your,
Announcement.
Feeding animals, where we're going with that?
well, the feeding the animals I would like to see moved. I don't think it needs to sit in committee for another
Hang on, let me,
Does anyone have any questions
I
on it?
lost my sheet.
Well, they highlighted it.
Stephanie's here.
Well, I apologize. Yeah, I apologize, the feeding animals, I missed that one. Let me pull it out here.
In the meantime, I'm actually gonna ask, for a waiver of the rules of order, to discuss the, medical marijuana, legislation for an endorsement letter for the new owners under the same facility. If anybody had any questions on that, I mean, the legislation isn't here, but everybody received it earlier this week. Maybe that's a discussion that we can have now since we've got a couple minutes before the next meeting. I would like to see that get passed tonight. It's a very time-sensitive issue. And it is a resolution, but doesn't need unanimous on the first time. So if anybody has any questions in regards to that,
We got a
I could
copy of
address
it?
that. It's not in the pre-meeting, it's not in,
Can somebody get a copy of it?
get a copy of the,
Feeding in the end?
no, the feeding of the
We don't
animals.
have a
is in
meeting
there.
till 6 o'clock again now, right?
Hmm?
Our next meeting ain't till 6 o'clock, right? We
Yeah.
got an hour here now.
That's
Right?
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, if we can discuss it. I gotta ask for a waiver of the rules.
Let's go around, here it is, I got.
Councilwoman
Tester, are we able to get
I'm
copies?
gonna go around with the feeding of the animals here. Katie, any
Yeah,
questions?
let's do that.
Not yet. If you go around the room, I don't think so. Just look on something else.
Bob?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Joe?
Nothing right now.
No, no question. Thank you, Frank. Venice?
No, I don't have anything.
I'm good. So just to go over this, these 4 items we talked about, we're pulling out tonight and voting on them,
Yes.
correct? Okay, I'm good.
All right. Good. Councilman Sam?
Good.
All right.
So.
Now, Sam, I don't mind, I'll do that, but I wanna get it in front of us.
Yeah, I
just
mean,
want-
listen, I mean, I could explain it, I could explain it at the 7 o'clock meeting.
6
No
o'clock
problem,
meeting
but
you
I'm
can.
asking the council that I would like to pass it tonight.
Yes.
In order to get it to the owner. So it is a resolution. I'm going to pull it out based on your rules of order. That's when I have to introduce it, if there's a problem.
Jack.
Yeah, I mean, they've had it, everybody should have already looked at it by now.
Jack, I read it. So the one thing I want to talk about on that, if we're going to talk about it, okay? That's in my district. The gentleman is a great guy there. He's ran into some tough times, okay?
Yeah, can we-
He's ran into some tough times. I have no problem with
I can't hear
passing
you, Joe,
it.
because everybody's got sidebar conversations going on right now.
Mayor?
Okay,
Council people.
so
What's up?
this,
I wasn't talking.
wasn't.
No, I was
So-
yelling at the other council people.
Listen, I know Samantha knows the gentleman better than I do. I've dealt with him. He's done a lot for the area. He's a good man. The only problem that I have on this, okay, he's already been cited by the city in the last few months for the property, the condition of the property, and he's gone through some financial crisis that he's gone to the city and explained to them. He's had a death in his family. It's terrible what he's gone through. Got no problem with this resolution.
At all.
Okay, the property needs to be cleaned up, and obviously it will have to be cleaned up before anything new goes in
Feel
there.
bigger, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's
Yes.
not, that's,
Well, it's
what
the
ended
main
up
thing.
happening is that MedMen, the original company that was in, that he managed the company with, they ended up falling apart, falling through. So the whole deal with MedMen ended up,
They didn't pay, and he threw them
that's,
out.
well, what ended up happening was because they had ownership of the property, they ended up taking over the property. So he had to go to court. The court finally ordered that they had the full right of the ownership over the property. So it's not that he didn't want to do anything, he couldn't do anything with that property. In the meantime, now that he has the ownership of the property, he's coming back and he's asking the council to give a letter of support so that the new company can take over MedMen, but they need a letter of endorsement for the lobbyists out in Albany.
Joe, did they clean it up?
And- No, that's the point that I'm saying. And they're gonna have to go in front of the zoning and not, codes and all that anyways. So it will be done. It's just very important that if you need to walk there, and I'm gonna go with, the chief of staff next week to look at it, they know that it's there. It's not an issue on what he wants. It's been 5 years. Those people that live on the properties bordering that, there's greenhouses that are in a disarray, In the meantime, they brought like trailers as classrooms in there. They have a building that's insecure. It's just, all I want is to make sure that it's cleaned up. And I'm sure, obviously, somebody who put a new business in would do that. That's all I'm saying. It's very simple.
It's gonna be him,
Yes.
the same
Yes.
guy.
Yeah.
And he has property managers and all sorts of stuff, because he did maintain that facility up until the point where his partner
His
that
money
he
is
was
in
with
probate.
under MedMen totally destroyed his business.
Are you for this?
I just told you, I have no problem with the resolution. I just know that I
It's your
want
area.
down the road, and like I said, before they put any business in there, they need to follow up. And anybody from codes will tell you, Mayor, you know the situation also, what I'm talking about. So, that's all that I'm concerned about, but the resolution should be passed. That's the bottom line.
What's your thought on this, Mayor?
It was fine when it was there. When I used to go door to door, even the people that butted up against it didn't have an issue with it. If it's a reinvented and renewed facility, it's only gonna get better. Right now, it's been just left in disrepair, right? So I think supporting the renovation of it is probably the way to go.
Okay.
Right, that's.
Any other questions on this? All right, I move that we close the whole meeting for today. Any second? Make it a second.
You good?
Oh, wait.
Do you wanna talk? You're good.
What about this
Hang
item?
on.
What?
I just wanna tell everyone.
Well, go ahead.
I didn't bring it today.
You have the floor, Mayor.
No, I just want to let everyone, we hired, I should say I hired, a public safety commissioner. So, at the next meeting, I believe the next meeting, I'll have him come to the meeting. But he started Monday. And at this current juncture, he's involved in just obviously getting going, but reviewing things like our vacant property law, our nuisance abatement law, and how we also, we have contract negotiations coming up, so he's also going through all of the contracts that are going to be up at some point, so that we can work together to keep moving the city forward. His name's Greg Getz.
You're gonna have him come in next council meeting?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he literally just started Monday, so.
Okay, go.
Can I, for the next meeting, 5 o'clock,
Greg,
can I
yes.
schedule a committee meeting on the legislation of the homeless? I want to explain all the good stuff the city's doing for it. I want to bring different people in to talk about different ideas they can have. So I'd like to schedule a committee meeting at 5 o'clock in 2 weeks.
Just remind me when
Okay,
we're-
but everybody here is good with that? So she's there?
Next, following one, right.
Okay.
Our next council meeting.
Okay.
I'm good. All right, we
Thank
good?
you. Yeah, well, hang on. Yeah, we're good. Yeah.
All right.
Motion?
We'll see you guys in the next meeting on this.
Motion to close?
All right, motion. Second, we're good. All right.
Call this meeting to order. If everybody could have their seat, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, I see the first thing on our agenda is to propose resolution number 1, redesign the island. That came from Councilmember Cosmo Testa. Would you like to speak on that?
Give me 1 second, Bob. So are we going out of turn with the original rules of orders? Because usually the first time that a piece of legislation is introduced, it has to go to the floor first before it even can be discussed. So I don't know if this is the proper time to discuss this.
This is,
Well, it looked like it was,
We're just in our pre-meeting, right?
yeah, this was submitted to us the 5th of September.
So I think if we're talking about rules of order, that would be something for the 7 PM meeting as opposed to our pre-meeting here.
Bob, can you go to the next piece?
Sure, I can put that. The next piece is proposition number 2, Councilmember Urban. It's calling for a public hearing on the sale of 1539 Howard Ave.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
You're good with that?
Yeah.
Thank you. The third one is proposed order number 3. Again, Councilmember Urban. It's approving the designation of Kim Duff as an eligible and qualified project sponsor to the general municipal law for the purpose of the sale of 1539.
Yep, I'm good.
You're good with that?
Yeah.
Number 4 is a master reuse plan for the former St. Elizabeth Medical Center. Councilmember Bitar.
So this is a resolution that I'm requesting be put in committee regarding the master reuse plan in order to start conversations with the full council on the options that have been presented this far. Again, just asking this go to committee so we can have those conversations, call those committee meetings, ask individuals from the community to start having these discussions, and so we could dig a little bit deeper about the council's involvement in the process.
Yes, I got a question.
Go ahead.
I agree with this wholeheartedly. But Brian, can we do this? Is this an issue? I mean, you gotta remember, like, the Tokens or all the other things that were put up without us knowing, I mean, we didn't know about it, and then next thing you know, we're taking heat for it.
No, it's really, based on my read of it's a resolution, right?
Yeah.
It's just suggesting that you will discuss the plans.
But that's gonna be approved by the administration, before it's discussed by the common council, that's what I'm trying to get.
well, nothing's before any of the boards at this time.
Right now they're just going through the secret process, the environmental review process, which the council, I believe, has been listed as an interested agency and has received correspondence, I believe, has been submitted to the clerk's office.
All right, that's what I had.
So these are just 4 recommendations?
It's
I
4
don't-
potential reuse scenarios that are being analyzed at this point.
There's a number of options that have been presented, and as Brian mentioned, what's starting now is we're going through seeker and trying to get some stuff taken care of, but nothing has been decided. We don't have a developer, nothing like that. We're just trying to make the process easier that if we do have a developer at some point in time, some of the groundwork is already started.
And again, just to outline and emphasize again, the point of this proposed resolution is so the council is able to, at a moment's notice, call a committee meeting and discuss anything that may come up, so we're able to take quick action if we need to, so it wouldn't have to be proposed at that time and then wait and sit and call a committee meeting at that time. It's to put the council again in a position to be able to move quickly if we need to, and to have these conversations as a full council, citywide, moving in that direction together.
Any other questions?
Does this exhibit A go with it, or?
Those are the attachment of the 4 proposed plans that the development team set forth at the last public meeting, I think in May. So that's just a copy of that PowerPoint presentation from the City of Utica website.
Any other questions? Moving on, we'll go to proposed resolution number 5. And again, that came from Council Member Cosmo Testa. Would you-
Yeah, that was my fault. I thought you can't introduce legislation to the actual committee of the whole unless it gets introduced at the actual floor. Otherwise, it just dies in the pre-meeting. So I was a little confused on that. With that said, this piece specifically is for, no, I got it right here, sorry. Is reestablishing Utica as the center of medical cannabis innovation. Again, the gentleman that I talked to, who was from the original medical marijuana facility in North Utica, had asked, after some legality issues were resolved, for the council to come in support of him to reestablish his idea under a medical marijuana facility under Capital's plan, which repays all outstanding financial liabilities to New York State and revive the business that's presently there. That's all this is. It's basically a letter of endorsement. If he gets by that process through the state, business could go back to the original plan that it was for the medical marijuana facility in North Utica. So this is basically just a letter of endorsement to the state and whatever he needs on behalf of the council.
Would he like to come in and address this on that?
I mean, he's not from the area, he's from downstate. This is just a resolution, it's really not binding to the fact of what he needs to do in order to reestablish. I don't think he'll have a problem coming in, but I know that he needs this as a piece to move forward with the obligation that he has to the properties on Herkimer Road. But if you want him to come in, I hope that wouldn't tie the fact of this resolution. I'm gonna move forward on it. If you guys choose not to act on it, that's gonna be on this body. But I know that in talking with him that this is a time-sensitive matter. Now that the litigation component of his part has ended and he can move forward to try and open up that facility, this is one component into getting that revitalization back to the medical marijuana facility. And I'm sure once he gets all his ducks in a row, after this is all done, he has no problem coming in and talking with the council. But, I mean, we do letter of endorsements on a number of things that we don't ask the owners to come in because it's only a resolution, just to get them to that point. So if we're gonna start something new, from here on out, I'll request that anybody and everybody be here for that part.
Well, just, first of all, it was a question.
Yeah, no, I'm just
And
saying,
it-
I just
it
followed the
wasn't,
normal past practices of the
wasn't
council.
something You have to come back to us and throw a threat.
It wasn't a threat, I was going part of past practices of what the council
It
does. It
seemed like a threat, but whatever.
wasn't a threat at all.
Well, thank you. Any other questions?
So this is in my area, and I just want to state, like I stated before, I support this resolution, and I know if it goes through, there will be other things where he'll have to go through in front of the city to make sure it's up and down. But in the meantime, this gentleman needs to have this resolution passed. Thank you.
Very good. I don't think there's a need to have anybody come in at this particular time, but very good. Thank you. Any other questions? I have in front of me proposed ordinance number 6, sponsored by Williamson and myself, authorizing the encroachment on Dwyer Ave.
Yep, I can explain this. So, recently we got, a letter from, the attorney who represents, T&K Realty. They're in the process of selling, their building. I believe this is the Bernie Bus area, but don't quote me on that. Essentially, there was a survey that was done. There's a slight encroachment on the city right-of-way. It is nowhere near the road, there's parking spots in between, but all of that, the building, and there's a handicap ramp, encroach over into the city right of way. The title company is asking for the city to sign an acknowledgement of the encroachment and obviously allowing it, but again, as the similar issue with People's First, the council will need to approve and issue a permit to authorize the encroachment. Obviously, we're only allowing the encroachment as it is. It can't be extended or increased at all, and it automatically terminates upon the removal of either the building and or the handicap ramp.
Thank you very much. Any other questions?
I do note that the title company is looking for this because they're in the process of trying to get this sold, so if this can get passed, I know the...
City's good with it, right?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Of course, we're going to pull out 3 pieces of legislation here for the public hearing of Leah Street, the sale of property of Palatary, and the sale of Palatary number 2.
And then you're pulling out the other 4 on the bottom too. 14, 16, 17, and 18. We discussed in our.
Right.
Yeah, I know, the same thing.
Yep.
And then 11, 13.
Okay, now to get back to the first one, do you have anything? Councilmember Colesimo Testa would like to,
What's that?
do you want to go back to number 1, or do you?
Yeah, I mean, listen, number 1's gonna be meaningless if, the reconsideration doesn't pass. So I think that acting on this before, I think the legislation is self-explanatory. The problem that I have is the council wasn't involved again in any of the process for the island plan. However, it becomes our problem now, either trying to remove it or moving forward. So I think that we have to at least establish some type of understanding that if this resolution goes forward, what involvement the council actually has to have now. I mean, are we gonna be in the process of redesigning it? Are we gonna make, have to pass legislation in order to do it? Or is that an administrative function because that's how it was done to begin with? So, I mean, I think that that has to have some type of clarity for us, even moving forward, if this resolution were to pass, what our boundaries are as a legislative body on making a determination on an island that we never had the authority to move in and understand to begin with. And maybe if we did, we wouldn't be talking about this 9 months later.
Very good.
So,
Any other questions?
Yeah, just to keep this discussion going. So let's say the island does stay there. Are you proposing that the administration or engineering department re-examine the redesign to make it smaller? This is what
I mean,
we're
at this
proposing
point
with
in
the
time, if you make a
resolution?
motion to reconsider, it's gonna stay the way it is.
No, I mean, with
So-
your piece of legislation, would you suggest moving on to it to redesign in a smaller fashion? I mean, that's in terms of next steps if we get there.
They submit it to us, but where do we go again on the redesign? Do we have any say, or can the administration just go and do it on behalf of themselves? Knowing that we weren't involved in the process to begin with. Like, the only reason that we became involved in any of this wasn't because of the actual design of the island. It became because they wanted it to be removed. So, again, moving forward, again, it's a request, that's what I asked in the bottom of it. But does the administration have the right to go redesign it without having it coming back in front of the council?
Yes.
I mean, I don't know, yes, like, how would you know yes? Where would it?
You can read the code. It's under, I mean, you can go through either Complete Streets or the Engineering or Public Safety Commissioner has the right to do it, just like any of the traffic islands that we see exist now. The one over off Lincoln and Tracy, we have the Columbia Square one.
Right, but those were existent prior, they weren't just built. And
No, but
as an island
they were.
In any recent times.
Absolutely, they were. They were in the past. The one on Lincoln, Brian, do you know which
The
one?
one on Lincoln was there before, it was just redesigned.
It was within, no, it wasn't there before.
was always an island there.
No, I delivered pizzas in 2012 and it wasn't there then.
Was it under the previous administration,
So
I
what was
believe?
it before?
Whichever.
Just a sea of asphalt, like
20.
the one on,
Right, okay, so, right, okay.
So
again,
same
but the way you
situation.
speak, it was an island, and there's not any issues with the roadway or buses or travel or stop signs being put up. And I'm pretty sure that the common council.
Well,
was
and
involved in
then
that
the one
process.
off of Park,
And I
There
think
was-
there was one in West Utica as well.
Yes.
What's that?
Columbia
The one
Square.
that Bob redesigned?
The one I did on Columbia Square.
But-
With ARPA funding, right, that the
That's right.
council was not involved in any ARPA funding. This was not used with ARPA funding.
I'm with you. We
This
can
was
get a
used with
clear.
with our actual paving program, which we should have been involved in that process. We weren't involved in any other process for.
I think we should, if
But
you're
this was
interested,
not-
legislate
ARPA
for that then,
funding was
but.
not used for this. Is that correct? From my understanding, ARPA funding was not used to design this.
I was told that too.
Which, if that's the
So
case,
that goes back to the fact of, again, what are we involved in and what are we not involved in? Are we not only involved not in the island? In
also like,
ARPA funds that were provided through the ARPA funding? I
It-
mean, this was actually used, which again goes back to violation of why it should have never happened to begin with without the contract.
I don't know why it wasn't paid with ARPA funding when we still have 125,000 left, I think, in our ARPA for our district, so it might just be a technicality, but
No, it wasn't used for that.
Councilman Beatrice?
it's just in there.
Yes, so my
No,
my
it's the
problem
whole
with all of
cost.
this is, enough is enough. We voted as a council 7-2 to remove it. When did we do that? In September,
April?
in April, okay? For whatever reason, it got dragged and dragged and dragged. My view, I don't care if you guys are asking for it or not, you either take it out or leave it alone. I'm gonna ask the city engineer right now to, number one, to reconstruct it, okay? Tell me, how much money is it to reconstruct the island?
To make it smaller.
Ballpark, Nick.
42,000.
Okay. Can you get the granite curbing, the circle
6 to 8
curbs?
weeks.
You can't get it to do it. So to reconstruct this, you can't do it until the spring, realistically, correct?
That's correct.
How much did it cost to take it out?
16.
16,000, okay? Let me ask another question. We talk about, how many signatures on your,
110?
how much? How many of them are within 200 feet of that island? How many of people on that petition are on within 200 feet of that island?
The guy who, he lives right in front of it. and
How
he's
many
one of your
people on that island are within 200 feet?
residents. He said everybody except the 3 people signed.
There's not 200, there's not 100 people that live within 200 feet of that island. Okay? So my point is,
They-
we got a lot bigger fish to fry than worrying about this island. We voted 7-2. You voted to turn it down. It's gotta go. It's gotta go. It either goes or it's gotta stay exactly the way it is. We can't keep spending this money and fighting over and over and over about it. Obviously, we can't resize it and redo it, minimum till the spring. Would you say, right, Nick?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a very simple answer. We voted 7-2, it needs to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
No? Meeting to,
I guess we have no other questions.
motion to adjourn?
I'll make anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
Thank you.
Come to order. Council members, please take your seats. City clerk will call the roll.
Aiello, Burmaster, Batar, Carcone, Urban, Beatrice, Williamson, Classimo Testa, Lemetico, Geruzzi, all present.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence for the deceased members of the county council. We have old business from the previous meeting. We voted to reconsider a piece, and now we're going to vote on it. Can I have a motion?
Motion to waive the rules of order.
Yep.
Second?
Second.
Second.
Proposed ordinance number 7, ordinance removing the traffic island at Eastwood Ave and Dunham Road. A traffic island has been erected at the intersection of Eastwood Ave and Dunham Road, whereas said traffic island was erected without a police or engineering study having been submitted to the Common Council, whereas there have been multiple complaints from residents, school bus drivers, and others stating that the construction of the traffic island was ill thought out and could be dangerous. The design could lead to a great deal of driver confusion. Ordained by the Common Council of the City of Utica that the traffic island constructed at Eastwood Avenue and Dunham Road without the benefit of a traffic study, police and engineering department presentation at the Common Council be demolished and eliminated, returning the roads to their original configuration immediately. So can we have the judge? You want to speak on something?
Any question about the matter? This is if you saw this legislation. This is if you saw this legislation for the first time. Your vote is the same. All right. For the benefit of people who may be in the audience, this matter came up before the council, and at 7-2, they voted to demolish. At the last council meeting, a motion was made to reconsider that, and it passed. Now the matter is before the council again, and if the council wishes to vote in the same manner as it did on the date this was originally adopted, they would vote yes. If the people, councilmen, do not wish to vote in the same manner or vote as they did the last time, they vote no. So it's up to you to vote now. If you want this ordinance for demolition to stay in effect, you vote yes. If you don't want it to stay in effect, you vote no.
Thank you, Judge.
If there's any question beyond that, I'd be glad to answer.
Yes to remove, no to keep. Votes, please.
Yes to remove. No, no. No to remove.
It's no to remove.
No to remove.
5 votes.
Okay, so it's been reconsidered and defeated.
Does the chair hear a motion, a second, to dispense with the reading of minutes from the previous meeting?
Need a second. Can I have a second? Thank you.
Yeah, okay. We have a public hearing on proposed ordinance 9, sale of 123 and 125 Leah Street. Proposed ordinance 11, sale of the front portion of 319.55-122 Pelletier Avenue. Proposed ordinance number 2, sale of a back portion of 319.551/22 Pelletier Ave. There's no one to speak. We have public comment period, 3 minutes per speaker. Olivia Paul. Olivia, the Common Council has provided you a copy of Section 3244 Public Comment Period. Are you in agreement with the rule?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, good evening, everyone. I just wanted to come before you to inform you of what I believe to be some serious traffic concerns taking place on Armory Drive related to Columbus Elementary School. I sent an email to various individuals, including the mayor's office, the councilman Carcone, Officer Curley, and Sheriff Maceo on September 3rd. As of this morning, I had only received one response from Lucretia Hunt. I believe many of you know her, and for those that do not, she is just an advocate who talks about different issues that impact our community. I sent a subsequent email this morning that included a few more individuals and received a response from Assemblywoman Marianne Buttonshawn's office, Stephen Felchey, the Utica City School District, and Captain Brote from the Utica Police Department. I did have an opportunity to speak with Utica Police Department Officer Jimmy, Mr. Siriano from the Utica City School District, and another concerned Armory Drive resident this afternoon outside of Columbus School. The school principal did join us briefly. I would like to formally, in the presence of everyone, ask for a meeting with the mayor, the 4th Ward Councilman, Chief Williams, Sheriff Maceo, Dr. Spence, and other Utica City School District administrators to discuss and hopefully find some reasonable solutions. I did have an opportunity just this evening to speak with Deputy Chief Noonan and Mike Gentile, so hopefully that meeting will convene soon and we will get to be able to discuss the issues and find some solutions so that the youth are not injured or killed during all the traffic in the morning and in the afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. Gay? Common Council has provided you a copy of Section 3244, Public Comment Period, in agreement.
40 days have passed since the Justice for Nyamway team sent a letter demanding a response from the city of Utica regarding community demands for accountability, justice, and safety. Their silence is both telling and defeating. It is very silence and complicity that is why we are here today. Just as Walter Washington and Jesse Lee Rose were unjustly murdered in the hands of law enforcement. Nyamway is another young life taken because of the city's lack of accountability, oversight, and transparency. We demand that the city do something about police brutality in this city. There is no trust without accountability and the remedy of wrongdoing in the first place. Ms. Chi Words deserves justice for her son. Utica, New York, September 17, 2024. Chi Word, the mother and legal guardian of 13-year-old Nyamway, has filed a notice of claim against the city of Utica, alleging multiple violations of civil rights and wrongful death in connection with the fatal police shooting of her son on June 28, 2024. The claim outlines a series of serious offenses, including excessive force, false arrest, and the failure of officers to intervene. The tragic incident occurred when 3 Utica Police Department of officers Patrick Hunson, Bryce Patterson, and Andrew Cintron unlawfully stopped a Nyamway for jaywalking at approximately 10:18 p.m. near the intersection of Shaw and Bennett Streets. The situation quickly escalated as Nyamway, in fear, attempted to run. After being caught by Officer Patterson, Nyam was pinned to the ground and punched repeatedly in the face. Despite Nyamway posting no threat, Officer Hunse proceeded to shoot him in the chest, leading to his death. The notice of claim filed by Ms. Chi Ward in her capacity as the administrator of Nyamway's estates named the city of Utica and the Utica Police Department as responsible for the actions of the officers involved. The claim alleges numerous cases, including but not limited to wrongful death, excessive force, assault and battery, false arrest, civil rights violation, neglecting hiring, training, and supervision, conspiracy and fail to prevent or intervene in the unlawful acts. According to the claim, the physical and emotional injury caused Nyamway include pain and suffering, loss of dignity, mental distress, and the ultimate loss of his life. The damages also extend to the family who seek justice for the psychological, financial, and emotional impact of the incident. Chi War, supported by her community and legal team, is pursuing accountability and justice for her son, a young boy who was tragically taken from her through egregious and unjustifiable actions by law enforcement. Thank you.
Chi War. Chi, Common Council has provided you a copy of Section 3244, Public Comment Period. Are you in agreement? Thank you.
My name is Chi War. I am the mother of Nyamwe.
Ya rote mo le pele masi yepokwa ya sa tumu ba mo ta po do da ya sa tho le po pleo sa tho le podo sa tho le po pleo po de po kwa tu tini pele de khasi pata ba pa sa mo ba shi ili shi
My name is Chi War. I am the mother of Nyamwe. Today, I want to talk about the incident regarding the murder of my son, Nyamwe, in the hands of Utica police officers. Nyamwe is my son. I birthed him, and I raised him since he was a baby. And I am saddened that he is not with me here today because he was murdered.
Tell pele ne tell your pony tak a mao tell choclo posa choclo thing na pockly posa or cheese tell posane taqueta yard mea posani the bama doba the bama chabiva pockly leader tell your potagama pockly leader got tea mopa order a ballet about cassie when I thought the tine belena cassie posalina tak a maulin a ballet Utica, a corner, where dopa, a ballet, at the hine weapon, so on a real bunny. Yet, or thing yam what I can.
Lucky the kind of temper.
Lucky guy.
Lucky the kind of temper.
Okay, can you yet or thing yam what police and attack a mao? Ballet loop a dope, Utica, a dopa. Believe that corner about let he never a ribbon.
The police said that my son had a gun. If you had my son already, if you were already punching him and you already had him on the ground, and he was only 13. He's a minor, and he's a human being, and he's a kid, and he has rights too. Why was the officer's first reaction to shoot and kill rather than calling mom and dad about a kid being out walking the street at night? Why have the politicians and Utica Police Department have not taken up responsibility to demand accountability for the death of my son?
What is Police are masi pon kasi pone ya do thingamo Bala adi po the me ya wamima adi po wamima adi po wamim kasi ba adi pon asamua atuba wemua chaso you tubari you po do ga satole you opla tu le do to the cho bakwa wa masi patani pasamua ya do thing Bele the dune, wa heta the way, wa coop wa nage, the coop now gage, what the wop poet, the wop, what you do. Order dear po, wa me maba a supo yane, a samua, a tuba radis or tuba wemua. Yet or thing out.
Okay. The 3 police officers who killed my son. I want to know, do you have a son? Do you have a child? Do you have a daughter? And if somebody killed that child like they did mine, would you accept that? No matter who you are, no matter what life you come from, if you're a politician, you're a civilian, no matter who you are, you have family. And you have people who you love and care about.
Cái đó tên thì YouTube ra này YouTube là YouTube này, giờ thôi chỗ thọ đồ gọi này YouTube ra này, giờ sáng bắt đồ, chỉ qua lò và phụ thọ chỗ bắp, lỡ đêm ngày này nó ra này mua để cho lẹ để cho nhà mình lẹ và chăm, cái qua cho mi lo này, lo và để cho lẹ thọ chỗ ya phụ đó. Mua về đó, cho thọ cho bá cho tụ bà, và để cho lẹ về để cho tụ lừa mối cho, và để cho này ta lẹ về lẹ, rồi và cha tụi cha kia rồi để lừa, cho này phải lẹ khá xí li mó, này cho này tụ lừa bà, thôi.
I suffer every morning, especially during school mornings, when children are getting ready to go to school, getting ready to put their kids on the bus and get the morning started. And every morning, when my daughter gets ready for school, she asks where her older brother is. And she looks at the bed, his bed that's empty, and she keeps asking her over and over again, where is brother? And she keeps responding, he's not here. She keeps asking and asking. She keeps saying, he's not here. She keeps asking until she's tired, and mom says, the police killed your brother.
Yeah. Giờ cái ta lo khi tôi phá lo. Bây giờ đó sẽ nhà mò beli nè, khá gì poli. Để rồi YouTube nè. Lúc khi nè, để rồi YouTube ra nè, cái YouTube ra ta lo mo, chỉ chôm mo lấy sai nè. Nó nè, cái tôi Utica, ako na, wako pa na podo pa. Pelene kasi yupoli pelene tagama uli. Abale hine wara are tu lo to lo vai edom. We do blane. Abale ho pelene akasi da leader pelene telo pa khara lo klone are do me ya are jomudu me ya. Abale pelene kasi yupoli. Abale hine wara are ba. Abale aba cholo bo we abali order de. That kind of by his at move am. A lucky get all my end of there. Utica a corner, but call her pele a corner, but double bra, yet or thing ya takato with canumo. Yet or takato canumo. Takato.
Now, the Guadal Bacaro, or there a lot of Bacanum land there. You know the bird about there were.
Yeah, do thing ya more. But the lock has the pony. About that all or tak mavala. Well, clone was there, me kawa yoli ne, a rido de mea, takamado de mea, about lepele at the Earl Takamava at the Hinevra Utica, a corner, but dope bra pele, a corner, la bamuba darun, a ballet at the Hinebele Serganima, at her a rivanimale, a cassi polid, posa the cheese nilor, a locky toy or signal, but Utica, pele a corner. But double bra yet or signal that good kind of more. About cholo bur about Lee or running. That kind of lucky dollar.
Okay. And the last thing I want to know regarding the killing of my son. In the future, I hope that these officers suffer just as I have. And for the Utica officials, Utica police officers, I want to ask you this. Why have you not taken up the responsibility to demand answers and accountability from the 3 officers that murdered my son? Why do you keep trying to hide and lie when we're demanding answers and accountability?
Kay Clo.
Ms. Chi Ward deserves justice for her son. She often mentions that Nyamwe's ghost returns to her when she's sleeping and when her mind is idling, telling her, "Mom, I don't know where to go." I have a question for the UPD. What protocols or training are you exactly teaching where it is okay for an officer to shoot someone who is a child, 13-year-old minor, who is actively getting beaten to the ground by another officer? In the days following Nyamwe's murder, police officers continued to harass Nya's family. I'm sure some of you have seen the Facebook post about 2 officers showing up in civilian attire to Nyamwe's house without an interpreter, searching around the house, asking about another case while they know the family don't speak English. Looking around the house and searching for who knows what. Accountability is safety. Intimidation is not. Why do simple traffic stops or walking in the street turn into potential death sentences? Stop using pretextual stops as an excuse to racial profile our kids. Police brutality, as we have witnessed, can touch all of us. It affects how safe you feel in your neighborhood. It affects the mental and emotional health of the families, relatives and families left behind, and the list goes on. No one is safe until all of us are safe. Nyamwe's soul deserves to rest knowing that another kid will not suffer the same tragedy as he did. How many kids and family members do we have to lose until the next community conversation or healing circle or discussion happens because of another shooting? In my anthropology background, I learned that a problem cannot be solved without addressing its roots. Violence, racism, social inequalities do not exist in a vacuum. We as a society decide whether or not we want to remain complicit in another's oppression. Let's ask ourselves, what kind of world do we want to leave the future generation with? We're asking you to think critically about what safety truly means and what that looks like. There are many things we can learn from other cities that have experienced the same problems. Our list of demands takes after these successful models that have been invested in and replicated to fit the needs of our community. For example, in Oakland, California and Chicago, Illinois, they've established independent oversight ordinances. And this is essentially, they established a civilian review board with independent investigative powers to review all police shootings and misconducts. The board have subpoena power, the ability to review evidence and issue public reports with recommendations for accountability. Because
Okay,
of this,
you're gonna have to finish up, please.
in Oakland, California, there is a creation of a civilian police commission that led to increased accountability and community trust. In Chicago, Illinois, the Civilian Office of Police Accountability led to more investigations into police misconduct and greater public access to reports. There are many examples like this that are already happening across the country to restore trust and safety to communities. Arthur Riley once said, "Anger is an acceptable form of grief. You don't have to make your emotions palatable to those who are unmoved. Rage isn't the curse. Apathy is. The young people are tired. We are tired of having to endure the repercussions of centuries of systemic inequality, from the criminal injustice system to healthcare, housing, and education."
Thank you, Kay.
Over the coming weeks,
Hey,
our
finish
team
up,
will
please.
put forth, I'm finishing up, yep.
Just finish
We'll
up.
put forth a robust action plan for improving public safety and ensuring that tragedies like this no longer happen, and that when they do, we have accountability mechanisms in place. The Justice for Nyamwe team welcomes you to join us as we push forward for a safer Utica for all. Let's help Ms. Chi Ward finally put her son to rest by ensuring that there is not another Nyamwe.
Ray 2, Covet. Ray 2. Ray, Common Council has provided you a copy of Section 3244. In agreement? Thank you, Ray.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Raitu Kayet, and I'm a resident of Utica. Today, I am here to speak on the need for transparency in the investigation of Nyamwe's death. Our community is grieving, and we deserve to know the truth. The investigation into Nyamwe's death must be transparent and fair. We demand weekly updates in English, Burmese, and Karen, both written and verbally publicly. Transparency is the key to rebuilding trust between the police and our community. We must ensure that the investigation process is open and accessible to everyone affected by this tragedy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. Ludia G. Ludia, Common Council has provided you a copy of Section 3244. Are you in agreement? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Nadia Gui, and I am here to demand accountability for the death of Nyamwe. The officers involved in Nya's death have lost the trust of our community. Regardless of the investigation findings, they should be fired from the Utica Police Department. Trust is the foundation of any relationship, and it has been irrevocably broken. We cannot allow officers who have violated our trust to continue serving for our community to heal and move forward. These officers must be held accountable. Thank you.
Thank you. December Paul. The Common Council has provided you a copy of Section 3244.
Good evening. My name is December Pa. I am here to speak on the importance of investing in our community. Nya was an active member of our community, participating in active activities at places like Midtown Utica Community Center. These institutions provide recreations and resources to young people, helping to keep them safe and engaged. We demand that the city invest in the community institutions such as Midtown Utica Community Center, Mohawk Valley Latino Association, Mohawk Valley Junior Fortuners, and Utica Royalties. These organizations play a circular role in public safety and should be supported to honor Nya's memory. Thank you.
Thank you, Glory Kayat. Glory, Common Council has provided you a copy of Section 3244.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. My name is Glory Kayet, and I am a student at John F. Kennedy Middle School. I am here today to demand justice for Nyamwe, a young boy whose life was taken too soon. Nya was just like many of us, full of dreams and hopes. He was a bright light in our community, but that light was extinguished by an act of violence that should never have happened. I remember when me and Yamwe were playing volleyball at Arthur Park. He was always full of smiles. I wouldn't ever see a frown on his face. Never in my life would I have thought that he would have his life taken so soon. I stand here today to demand that the mayor's office and the Utica Police Department offer an official apology and admission of wrongdoing for the murder of Nyamwe. Acknowledging their mistake is the first step towards healing. It's not just about admitting fault, it's about showing that Nya's life mattered and that such a tragedy should never happen again. Thank you.
Thank you, Glory. We do have a guest speaker tonight, James Genovese from the Oneida County Planning Department and their consultant team. Fisher and Associates are present. Project Manager Frank Armento from Fisher and Associates will give a brief presentation on Exit 31 Planning and Environmental Linkages Study.
No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace. What do we want? Justice. What do we want? Justice. What do we want? Justice. Say his name. Yahweh. Say his name. Yahweh. Do you feel ashamed when you hear his name? Yahweh. Yahweh. Do you feel ashamed when you hear his name? Yahweh. Yahweh. Do you feel ashamed when you hear his name? Yahweh. Yahweh. Do you feel ashamed when you hear his name? Yahweh. Yahweh. Do you feel ashamed when you hear his name? Yahweh. Yahweh. What do we want? Justice. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now.
James Genovese.
Jim, you could give a couple minutes break here.
Yeah,
There's no break, James. Go on. We're going to start. Yeah. There's no break.
Good? All right, thank you for having us today. We're going to, first of all, we're going to fix that. We're going to go through a little update for council. We appreciate the opportunity to come to speak with you, talk about Exit 31, which is our planning and environmental linkages study as we go through a process of what a new Exit 31 may look like. I'm going to go through this as quick as I can, and then if there's any questions, we'll answer them, and we'll kind of go from there. We're going to go through a little intro there, the study over work, completed work, and we'll get through kind of where we've done and where we're going. So this is the team. I'm not going to read them all. You can see them, but we'll make this available to anybody that wants it. So again, that's a technical advisory group members that we have that we engage in the process throughout the entire process. Okay, so this is our study area overview. I'm not going to go through each street because obviously you guys know where we're talking about. But the yellow area is the entire study area. That means anything outside of that area we're not looking at. It's going to be, it's isolated to just those parts of the exit for the most part. Where that blue 90 is a little bit too. But other than that, that's where it is. So you know the neighborhoods in North Utica and Harbor Point, the different roadways, and the different boundary areas. So what is a PEL study? Planning, Environmental, and Linkages is a tool for creating efficiency in transportation project development and supporting agencies to coordinate to accelerate project delivery. Collaborative integrative approach, assets and project delivery, and flexibility. So what does that mean? What it really means is we bring everybody together that does this for a living in this community, outside of it, and we go through a planning process in order to develop and deliver a concept on Exit 31 interchange that will make it safer, more usable, more reliable, better for economic development, better for community development, and again, most importantly, safer. So the goals, again, multimodal mobility, roadway system linkages, and economic development. We're looking at how can we make an interchange, the exit, including North Genesee Street,
better for everyone that wants to use it, for every way in which they want to use it. We also want to make sure that we're linking these roadways in a way that makes sense. Obviously, all you got to do is take the exit. You know it doesn't make sense now. We're looking for ways to make that make more sense. And we're going to do that by looking at these proposed improvements to enhance this system and link them together, hence the fancy name of planning and environmental linkages. Economic development is obvious. When we do these things, we want to make sure that we are putting something together that is going to spur growth and development and not hinder it. So issues, opportunities, and visions, understanding the need to merge land use and transportation planning by finding more efficient ways for people to move and have access to important destinations. This includes the opportunity to rethink how we approach new development. Mobility and access are key components, and understanding the traditional approaches to land use and travel patterns. That is a very fancy way to say help people get around more effectively and easily. And sometimes it is that simple. That is what it is. It's also with the idea and understanding that there's a lot of moving pieces to those things, and they all have to be taken into account. That's why the study goes until 2020, middle of 2025, beginning of 2025. So, and we've been doing it for a little while already. So what's our scope of work? What are we actually doing? We did the study initiation, conditions and assessment, traffic analysis, environmental analysis, social, economic, and equity analysis, and public engagement. And then obviously at the end, we will have the study, which is the plan. The important part of these things is you got to understand condition assessments, traffic analysis, environmental, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You have to know what you're talking about. You have to know what the conditions are. You have to know what they really are. You have to know what the traffic patterns are. You have to know what the traffic counts are. You have to know what the conditions of the roadways are, things like road scoring, other things of that nature, and a bunch of other things. Environmental analysis, again, that's the environment in and around the interchange, not to be confused with the environment, right? So the idea is what is the physical and land use conditions in and around those things? You guys, they come to the planning board, things like seeker and EIS, those types of things, that's what they're looking at. We're not doing a seeker EIS right now, we're just looking at the environment. Social, economic, and equity analysis is exactly that. What are your demographics? What's your poverty rate in the area? What's your economics of the area? How are you going to address those things? If no one in the area that lives there drives, then you should probably have another way for them to get around, for example, right? Public engagement, we got to understand what people think about the roadway. We got to understand what people are saying, what they think about it. We have to engage them on a regular basis. That's why we're here today. It's why we've done dozens of pop-up events throughout the summer. It's why we've done one public meeting. I think there's 3 more to go, which I will get to. Have to engage them in the process. If we're not doing that, then we're not getting the feedback that we need to make the proper assessment and the proper study and plan. I'm going to slip on this pen and kill myself. Let me get that over there. Go ahead. So completed work. We've done, again, I'm not going to read them all, but we've done some of these activities are completed or in various stages of completion, I guess is really the better way to say it. A lot of data collection. You got to start with that. You got to have the understanding and baseline of what is reality analytically instead of what, got to engage the public, but it isn't just about what one person thinks. We got to understand what the reality is. Development of a study website, which anybody can go to, which I should have the address right here. I don't. I will get it before we're done. Again, the technical analysis, and Frank is here from Fisher, and he can explain in great detail if anybody's interested in the technical analysis and what that consists of. I'm not going to get into the weeds of what that consists of, but he's here to do that at any point. There was a questionnaire. The website also had an ability for people to locate and address hotspots of things that they thought about the roadway. You can go in there and click on it and do that. Again, draft purpose and need statement. Why are we doing this? And we're doing it. I don't have the statement right there, but look, it's not safe. It's not appealing. It doesn't look the right way when you're coming into the city. All of those things. So that's why it's being addressed. And of course, outreach and engagement. And at some point here shortly, we'll have some preliminary concepts of development. So technical analysis, again, we looked at the history of the road, which involves a lot of very old maps and other things. Prior studies, the last one, at least since 2009, different roadways, the infrastructure, the land use, and the development. Again, you got to understand what it is and what we're talking about. And that's what we go through a technical analysis to understand all the ins and outs of that. Technical analysis also includes traffic Approximately 12,000 vehicles a day enter and exit I-90 on that interchange. Heavy vehicles, 10 to 15%. All intersections operate at acceptable levels of service, which is a good thing. And I-90 North Genesee Street northbound also, right, at a level of acceptable service? F means no good, I would imagine. That makes sense. So there's another problem that has to be addressed. The other thing is understanding the vehicles and the traffic and the heavy vehicles and the freight portion of this is important so that we understand what kind of cars are using the road every day and how much that looks like. That's actually the map, right? Is that the map where you put in your areas? Is that what that is?
These are the dots.
Yeah, the dots, because it looks a lot like the thing that I've been playing, been
These
using.
were all the counts that we took as far
Okay.
as traffic analysis.
All right.
And those are the points that we took. Some were video counts, and some were in-field counts.
Okay, good. Crash analysis, again, this is important. We've got to understand where our hotspots are, where our problems are. High rates of crash on many of the study area intersections. That's important. North Genesee Street, not as many crashes, but when they happen, there's higher fatalities and injuries, which means the crashes are obviously more severe. High rate at these particular intersections, Weaver, Interstate Ramps, Wirtz Ave, North Genesee, lower rate at Hour and Herkimer. And then higher rate in Leland, lower crash rate than expected in Herkimer, and again, in Hour, a lower crash rate than expected. So we did some forecasting. We don't want to just understand what the situation is today. We want to have some understanding, some forecasting, some understanding of what it's going to be like years from now, so that when we finish this and it gets implemented, that we're preparing for the future. That's really what that means. Again, environmental analysis, understanding things like floodplains and flooding and how doing changes to the road will affect those types of things. Social, economic, and equity analysis, which we do for this, and we actually, in our Herkimer and Utica County Transportation Council or the Planning Department, we do in a variety of different ways, environmental justice analysis and other things of that nature. But, understanding the populations within the environmental justice study area, generally lower income than the city of Utica and Oneida County, and more diverse, generally a higher unemployment rate than the city of Utica and Oneida County, an older population compared to the rest of the city, and obviously it's an important commercial center, which kind of goes without saying. I'm just going to kind of get through these quick. I'm not going to go through these. They're not our projects, right? But they are concurrent projects that are taking place, and every time someone stops at a light coming off of 49, you know that they're there. So this is the replacement of 2 bridges. Go ahead. The safety project, again, which is the exit, the throughway ramps. There's a North Genesee Street bridge rehabilitation. Okay, and then the public engagement. So this is how we solicit public. This is one of the events. Obviously, focus groups throughout the study. We've brought people together with areas of expertise or areas of information that we wanted to have at our disposal, and we've done that. We have done 1 public meeting. We will do 3 more before the end. We've done pop-up events and community events. My staff has been going I think we've been to every farmer's market that has ever existed for a variety of different studies. We certainly continue to go to events in and around Utica for this particular study, but not just Utica. And as we do other things concurrently, we try to get to as many events as possible in order to solicit feedback. Online surveys that are aligned with the public meetings. We did one at the public meeting. Right? I don't remember if there's another survey that's publicly available, but I assume there is.
There will be.
There will be?
That's coming, so we'll
All right.
have a public survey that will solicit feedback on the concepts that we're developing. So that'll be coming in the future.
And of course, there's the website where all this information is chronicled and exists. So this is what we've heard from people to describe the interchange. Difficult to navigate, unsafe, would never walk or bike in the area, lots of curb cuts, no curb appeal, congested, speeding, disregard for traffic signs and regulations, congestion at the 4 corners, difficult to access Route 49, merging onto North Genesee Street is difficult and intimidating, ramps are constrained and narrow. I read those only because it's important to note that we've got actual feedback, that feedback is being incorporated in what we're trying to do here. None of that is super shocking, I don't think, in the feedback. I mean, we've all drive on the road, so we understand what it kind of looks like. I would say that, when we look at different things like would never walk or bike in the area, of course you wouldn't, because it's not set up that way. If it is, maybe you would, but you're not going to do it now, that's for sure. Some people would, but not if they could avoid it, right? So as we start to look at these things and you start to look at what we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish, when you want to make it safe and accessible for every mode, you gotta look at it that way, and you gotta build it that way. If you don't, then it won't be. So it's how you go through doing those things. So those are real responses that we have received from the people we've engaged. So what are our next steps? We're going to continue to do the focus group discussions. Our technical advisory group will continue to meet, and we'll continue public engagements and public meetings and engagements. We will refine the vision for the study based off the technical memos, the things that we've learned as we go forward. You got to adapt to what you learn as you go forward. The thing we think on day one is not going to be the thing we think at the end, or then what was the point of doing all the stuff in between. The concept, alternative development and testing. In other words, we think this is a good idea. Now we're going to go find out if it's actually a good idea. And then, of course, the final deliverable is the study itself. This is the project schedule, and the real important date is down there at the end with the little purple line, which says it'll be done in June of 2025. The rest of it gets you there, but that's really the important piece. If you need someone in my office, Julie Richmond, who's in the back, is our transportation program manager. Feel free to email her. Frank Armento's here with us. He's our consultant lead from Fisher Associates. They're doing a great job, and his email's there if you want to get a hold of him as well. Happy to answer any questions, or I can get out of your hair.
Thank you, James.
Real quick, the study,
Well, why don't you, he just give the emails? And
Whatever you guys want. We're happy to engage wherever we can. So, yeah, I get it. Yep. Guys, seriously. Yeah, you guys let me know and we'll come. All right.
Thank you, James. Communication? Any communication from the mayor? Yep. Report of city officers. We'll start with Brian Thomas, Urban Renewal.
No report.
Stephanie DiGiorgio, Corporation Counsel.
Nothing to report.
Deputy Chief Noonan.
On a personal level, I'd like to just express my sincerest condolences to the family of John Way for the loss as a parent. There's no greater loss than a child. I can't imagine what they're going through. If it was me, I certainly would never be able to accept what happened, regardless of the circumstances. But I do give them credit for coming here and speaking. It's very difficult to do, and I sympathize with their situation. That being said, I also sympathize with the officers who were involved in that. No officer wants to go through that. I was there the night it happened, and I've seen how it's impacted their lives. So, it's a very complicated situation, and it's just tough all around. But that being said, I do want to address the accusation of being silent. There's civil litigation going on. We can't speak about the incident. However, we are working with the Department of Justice. They have a unit that comes out in situations like this. They work with the police, they work with the community involved, and they try and bring them together to talk about what can be talked about. And we've had some very productive meetings with them, talking about the demands and what we can and can't talk about. I know they're also talking to that community, and hopefully over time we can come together and talk.
Thank you, Deputy.
Yeah.
Chief Gentile?
Yeah, thank you for saying that, and I'll just second that. The Department of Justice comes in as a routine procedure in these instances, and are acting as a mediator, and to go above and beyond offers for communication that have been out there. That's never been something that's been denied, and certainly something that the mayor's office and administration is certainly open to any dialogue that we can have. To segue, school started. I wasn't at the last meeting, but school has started. The stuff about safety definitely resonates. Certainly we had a conversation earlier where Deputy Chief mentioned that a lot of the schools are having similar issues to Columbus, and it's just a change in, you know, how people drive cars and stuff like that compared to their original design. But with that being said, we certainly have to make sure that we are considering, one, just being respectful of our neighbors, our neighborhoods, and making sure that you are using and keeping safety in mind throughout. With that, also, just want to mention, we hope for a safe school year for everybody. We are looking forward to coordination and working together with the new superintendent. We've already, you know, had meetings and have had opportunities to do so. So just really hope for a good, safe school year for everyone, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Chief. Mark Sokolowski, Commissioner of Parks.
Nothing to report.
Thank you, Mark. Nick Breidenbeck,
Nothing to report.
City Engineer. Marcus Phillips, Commissioner of Codes.
Just really two things from codes that council should be aware of, and if anybody on the council or anybody in the public wants to talk about them, I wanted to mention at the meeting, we're switching the districts that codes does patrols in, and sort of the way they do patrols, so how frequently you'll see a codes officer, which codes officers you'll see, when you'll see them, based on administrative priorities, working with engineering and the mayor's office to do that. So if you want to know more about your districts or the city as a whole, and how changing our patrol districts will impact that, be glad to talk about it. You know, we have a couple new people in the codes department. Glad to introduce you to them and talk about that. And then the other thing is, we're coming up again where we're licensing convenience stores. We're reissuing a lot of the licenses that we issued 3 years ago, and so that legislation is back sort of in our daily thinking and operations and codes. And if you're curious about it, or you want to talk about it, or if there's ways that, you know, we might be able to fix it, we're open to those discussions. Finally, I'm sorry, one more. We're getting a lot of these squatters in vacant houses. And that's something that the mayor talks to me about almost every day. As an administration, we're thinking about ways to address that, and some of those might ultimately come to the council, come to the public. And those are conversations that I'd love to have with you guys early, so that when those things come down, we've already had some dialogue about that. Okay, that's it.
Thank you.
Fire Chief Angersell.
No report.
Thank you, Chief. Miscellaneous communications, cash report.
He
started.
He was first. He was just so smooth with it. He just passed it right along.
City of Utica cash
I thought you
report
were
for
hung on
August
my every word.
2024 is 35.607 million received and filed.
Thank you. Petitions, remonstrances, and appeals. First Ward Council Member Katie Isle.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm all set tonight.
Second Ward Council Member Bob Burmaster.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good tonight.
Thank you. Third Ward Council Member Joe Bitar.
Thank you, Mr. President. Nothing tonight.
Fourth Ward Council Member Frank Carcone.
Yes, about the traffic at Columbus School. I wasn't sent an email, but Venice made me aware of it, so I took a ride over there a couple times, and there are a lot of cars there, but those schools were built in neighborhoods where years ago most people weren't driven to school. So to get the traffic under control is going to be some kind of project that really have to be talked about. And there's just a lot of traffic in a small area.
It certainly is, but you have to work through it.
Yeah, we have to have a meeting to try and get a solution.
Yes, we do, so please get something scheduled.
Well, if I got the email, I would have.
You got the email. Another council
Well, that's not the time right now. Thank you. Fifth Ward Council Member Venice Irvin.
Okay, I just want to talk about a couple events coming up. First one is Harvest on the Hill that happens every year. That's going to happen on October 26th from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. on James Street in the Cornhill District. And the second one is the community dinner hosted by the Community Foundation of Herkimer and Ada County highlighting the Cornhill Revitalization Project. That's October 23rd at the MVCC Alumni Center, and that's from 5 to 7. Okay? That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Sixth Ward Council Member Joe Beatrice.
Thanks, Mr. President. First thing, I want to thank the Mark Sokolowski and the Parks team for doing an excellent job in cleaning out the Weaver Cemetery. If you guys go by there, it's better now than it ever was. The two guys that were there were outstanding, took care of the flagpole, took care of everything they can need that needed to be done. And I also want to thank Nick and the engineering department for a couple problems that I had. They were right there, took care of it for me. I appreciate that. And then lastly, Monday night, 6:30 to 8 p.m., North Utica Neighborhood Association, 50 Riverside Drive. We'll be having a meet and greet with Marianne Buttonshaw and Christine Esposito. So the public and everybody out there is welcome. Myself and Mr. Gentile will be there from 5:30 to 6:30 for our monthly office hours if you have any questions. Thank you and have a great night.
Thank you, Council Member. Council Member at Large and Minority Leader Mark Williamson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have nothing to pass.
Council Member at Large Samantha Colosimo Testa.
I've got nothing this evening, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Member at Large Jack Lemedico.
I just want to thank everybody for coming in, and again, my condolences to all who were part of that terrible situation we had. Marcus, I had a quick question on this, and you were discussing the licensing of the grocery stores.
Well, convenience stores.
Convenience stores, excuse me. Now, we're sort of going talking with Ed here, and so if they get busted and they get arrested and they get fined, that's not that's not a reason where we can't relicense them because of the fake marijuana, the unlicensed cigarettes. How does that work?
So it's the strikes, like the way the legislation reads, everything that happens is worth a certain amount of, it's differing levels of superior
Points.
different level of points, a different level of severity. That's the word. And once they reach a certain threshold of severity, then they're entitled to some kind of administrative hearing. And then you have an administrative hearing, and then you can deny them a license. So we're logging what happens and what the violations are. Once they meet a certain threshold, we could begin a process to try to revoke their license.
Right, and what is it? Do we decide, or does your panel decide if they're going to revoke it? Who revokes it?
That administrative process based on the law.
But who actually says yes or no?
After that hearing, so it'd be initiated by me,
Right.
but they're entitled to a hearing.
Right.
And so you take the consult of the hearing, and then we advise with our lawyers, I give my recommendations.
So do they go to? You have to go to lawyers to get their.
Well,
license?
before I make any final decisions on whether or not to shut something down or open something up, I consult with Corporation Counsel, right? So we'd have the administrative hearing, come up with findings from administrative hearings, the opinions of the administrator, the opinion of the code commissioner, and then you bring it to Corporation Counsel, and then we can shut it down.
So so it's still within City Hall.
It's within City Hall.
To shut them down.
Yes, well, to revoke the license.
To revoke it, and once it's revoked, how long does it take for them to resubmit a license?
That I don't know off the top of my head. My thought, even though maybe I shouldn't speculate, but my thought is once we revoke the license for that owner, we wouldn't reinstitute it.
Mm-hmm.
But I would double check for what the
But someone else
process
could
is
come
there.
in at the same location and try to reopen it under another name?
Well, you guys actually did a good job writing the law,
Mhm.
because that was one of the issues, is that people just put something in somebody else's name. So actually, depending on the action, it's complicated, but depending on the action, some of the things are part of the location and the function of that specific store location, and not just the owner. It depends on what happens, I guess is the best way to say it.
But, you know, because we do get complaints of
Yeah,
the sales
we can have a
going in
meeting
and out of
on
these
the
stores
law,
and what they're
how
selling.
we're enforcing it. One of the things, you know, it's again, new administration. And it's one of the things that we've talked about several times is, okay, now that we're going through a round of relicensing, that's why I brought it up now. Maybe it's a fresh time to take a look at how we're doing the enforcement, whether there needs to be strengthened in some areas or weakened. How's it working for us?
Right.
And so I think that it's possible that it could change in the future, but we just want to make sure it's working. And to be honest with you, I think nobody's ever going to be satisfied with the way convenience stores are operating in the city. But just from the perspective of codes, it has gotten better for us. I mean, we feel like we have more tools. We've been able to prevent things that we weren't able to prevent in the past, and it's helped us. Doesn't mean that it's a panacea or that everything's going great now, but that law gave us more authority than we had before it, and that authority has resulted in us. Some of the stores have shut down because of interactions with this law. A good example is the one, you know, there used to be 3 convenience stores on Oneida Street, 4 at one time, in Oneida Square, now there's 2, right? So we've done things with this law that I think has helped.
Okay, thank you very much. That's it, thank you.
Thank you.
We are skipping proposed resolution number 1 because we already voted on that. So, a motion to introduce proposed resolution number 2.
Motion?
Second. Calling for a public hearing on the sale of lot at 1539 Howard Ave, whereas the Utica Urban Renewal Agency is the owner of 1539 Howard Avenue, whereas an offer to purchase 1539 Howard Avenue has been received by the Utica Urban Renewal Agency from Kim Duff, whereas the developer plans to clean, fence, landscape, and create additional parking for her adjacent property. The purchase price for this property is $250. Now therefore it be resolved that the Utica Common Council conduct a public hearing on Wednesday, October 2nd, 2024 at 7 p.m. Your votes, please.
Nine yeas adopted.
Can I have a motion to
Motion
commit
to
proposed
commit.
ordinance number 3?
Thank you.
Second. A motion to introduce proposed resolution number 4?
Motion?
Thank you.
A resolution to examine and inspect and discuss materials related to the master reuse plan for the former St. Elizabeth Medical Center.
I got it.
Oh, actually, making a motion to commit this.
You want to make a motion to commit?
Motion to commit, yeah.
Can I get a second?
Second.
You want to vote on the resolution?
A motion to introduce proposed resolution number 5?
Motion?
Second. Reestablishing Utica as a center of medical cannabis innovation. Now therefore be resolved that the Utica Common Council submit this resolution of endorsement for the city to be the center of medical cannabis innovation. Votes, please.
Nine yeas adopted.
Motion to introduce proposed ordinance number 6.
Motion?
Second.
Thank you.
Ordinance authorizing encroachment on Dwyer Avenue, be it for further ordained, this permit is granted upon the express condition that the owner or operator of this property, their successors in interest shall defend and hold harmless of the city of Utica, its agents, its officers, and employees from any claims whatsoever allegedly arising from the use of this permit. Votes, please.
Nine yeas adopted.
Motion to pull ordinance 9 from committee?
Yep. Get a second? Yep. Proposed ordinance number 9, Ordinance approving the designation of Cameron McLean, Janelle Gerling as an eligible and qualified project sponsor pursuant to Article 15 of General Municipal Law for the purpose of the sale of 123 and 125 Leah Street. The purchase will require a payment of $251. Further, it be ordained that the chairman of Utica Urban Renewal Agency is hereby authorized to take any and all steps necessary to complete this disposition of this property for the purpose. Votes?
9 yeas adopted.
Motion to pull ordinance 11.
Get a second?
Thank you.
Whereas Utica Urban Renewal Agency has acquired 319.55(1/22 Pelletier Ave.
This is gonna be, this one's, this is, oh yes, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Whereas on September 18th, 2024, a public hearing was held, and further be ordained that the purchase deposit for the above said property is $650, $250 to URA, plus $400 in taxes. Votes, please.
9 yeas adopted.
Motion to pull ordinance 13.
Second.
Thank you.
Whereas a purchase offer for this property has been received by the Utica Urban and Renewal Agency from Solomon Aldan, and the developer proposes to create additional parking for adjacent property with his portion. The purchase will require the payment of $250. There was a public hearing on September 28th. Further, it be ordained that the chairman of Utica Urban Renewal Agency is hereby authorized to take any and all necessary steps to complete this disposition of this property for the aforesaid purpose. Votes, please.
9 yeas adopted.
Motion to pull ordinance 14.
Can I get a second?
Thank you.
Motion to introduce proposed ordinance number 14, ordinance amending chapter 2/6 of the Utica City Codes ordinances to address nuisances caused by feeding animals.
I got 2-5.
Yeah, be it ordained that chapter 2-5 Utica City ordinances should be amended by adding section 2(5)(1) entitled Feeding Companion Animals to read as follows. Nothing in this section shall prohibit an individual from providing proper sustenance, food, or drink to any companion animal as defined in section 350 New York State Agriculture and Markets Law. However, if such activities causes a nuisance to any person, or otherwise damage or interfere with a person's use and enjoyment of their property, then such a person may seek recourse in a private cause of action. Votes?
9 yeas adopted.
Motion to pull ordinance 16.
Ordinance authorizing sale and or disposal of surplus city equipment. Further ordained the property to be sold and disposed of. It's described as follows. 1994 white auto car.
Just, you know.
Yeah, votes please.
9 yeas adopted.
Motion to pull ordinance 17.
Thank you.
Ordinance amending section 2-2648 regarding sewer rents. Be it ordained that section 22648 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Utica fixing the amount of sewer rents is hereby amended to read as follows. First is $1,500, cost $2.339, quarterly $4,500. Further ordained, this ordinance should be effective immediately to any and prior sewer rent rates imposed is hereby ratified and approved. Votes, please.
9 yeas adopted.
Motion to pull ordinance 18.
Second?
Yeah.
Ordinance authorizing encroachment into Broad Street Mohawks for signage. Whereas in connection with the reconstruction of building on the Broad Street, the owner, People First, proposes to install new freestanding two-sided sign on the northwest corner at the intersection of Broad Street and Mohawk. Be it foreordained that this permit is granted upon the express conditions that the owner or operator of the sign, their successors in interest should defend and hold harmless of the city of Utica, its agents, its officers and employees from any claims whatsoever allegedly arising from use of the permit. Votes, please.
9 yeas adopted.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Thank you.